Hello everyone. Hello Azad. Thank you so much for the intro. Thank you Noor and Sanya as well for a great, insightful session on Founders Hub. Um, what we're going to talk about now is GrowthX. In the former part of the session, you already touched upon corporates, right, and how we work with corporates and how we are enabling the ecosystem with startups and corporates working together. So I guess this is exactly what we are going to talk in this session. And we're just putting up some slides to guide you through some of the concepts, just for me to set up the stage about why as Microsoft for Startups in the region we are trying to build this ecosystem with corporates and startups together. And then I will leave the stage to Laura and my team to guide you through how to apply to GrowthX, but more importantly, what GrowthX program, what the GrowthX accelerator is about, how we thought of structuring it, who are the corporate partners on board for the next cohort, and so on and so forth. When we talk about corporates and startups, usually we refer to them with some animals, right? So the corporates usually are referred to as the dinosaurs. So very the opposite of agile, very slow in moving, incumbent, facing a lot of challenges and in need of reinventing themselves somehow. And usually we refer to startups as the agile animal, the unicorns, hopefully, or there is now all sort of animals we refer startups to, right? So the camels in this region, but zebra, I've seen even ant, cockroaches, and so on and so forth. Right? But the concept is we tend to see corporates as those entities that are very slow in moving, and startups that comes with this concept of agility that can solve problems easily, that the right culture, and so on and so forth. In reality, the truth is that it's always in the middle. There is a balance in that, right? Because there is no point in adding a number of new solutions that are not integratable with existing incumbents. Think about a wave of fintechs that maybe come with great ideas, great solutions, but then you cannot integrate them in existing systems where then you connect with the real world and audience and people, right? So the truth is in the middle. And also, if you think about it, corporates sit on reserves of cash that cumulated and aggregated are wider than the whole venture capital industry. So if only corporates would deploy this money in a better way when it comes to innovation, there is a huge potential there that can be unlocked. Still, when we talk about digital transformation, you see the life expectancy of corporates, of firm in the Fortune 500 was around 75 years a few years back, and today it's less than 15 years, and it's declining all the time. And we have seen all over the places, right? So corporates that are trying to fear disruption, and they are trying to identify new business models, that they're trying to identify ways of how to implement innovation, how to execute innovation within their organizations, and how to stay relevant in the course of time. The reality is we have seen a couple of researches here. We are pulling up some numbers. More and more corporations view interactions and collaborations with startups as important. And you see here, 32% of corporate CEOs want to collaborate with startups within the next 12 months to foster innovation. So this is not just a trendy topic or a hype, buzzword that we hear in the ecosystem here and there. Is 86% of startups on one hand and 55% of corporates on the other hand expect to collaborate more, expect to develop some sort of partnerships, expect to find ways of co-creating together. And this could be around more radical innovation, right? So whether you are a corporate, you have the core business, you are exploiting it, but you start exploring new areas where you can move into. You need to come with more agility and faster change, right? So implementing that time to market for new ideas and solutions, and trying to reduce the barriers to entry, right? So where you make easier and faster for startups to get into the corporate world and overcome some of the common barriers when it comes to procurement, data, IP, and many other things that make it very complicated to bring these two worlds together. So stronger cooperation is something that we see it's happening. It takes time, and we need more players in this ecosystem to try to enable this to happen in a more consistent way. So what we are seeing is that the world's biggest public corporations are not as clueless as you might think when it comes to looking at startups, right? It's not only about traditional VC. If you see, it's not the only way to raise money. If you see a company like DocuSign, it's a Series E. Right now, they raise from corporates like Salesforce, Google, Recruit, NTT, and many others. And the majority of unicorns have raised from at least one corporate, not including investment firms or banks. And if you look at other statistics that we put on this slide, when it comes to collaboration with startups, even France, even more than the United States, has the highest percentage of its top corporates engaging with startups. 23 out of 25 top corporates in France are somehow dealing or engaging or working with startups as part of their innovation efforts, which is quite a huge number, and it's quite indicative of there is the potential and the opportunity in fostering more this collaboration. We also see that building accelerators is now done not only by by tech companies, so also non-tech corporates are putting efforts into that. And it's not only about companies like Google, like also traditional corporates. Players have now more explicit ways to invest into startups, but it's not all about investing, it's also about working with startups, right? So if you think that 68% of the top 100 companies from the Forbes Global 500 are engaging with startups. So it's a trend that is consolidating. So our grand vision into this narrative is, as Microsoft, what we see is, on one hand, we have corporates we work with around digital transformation, where on top of the commercial layer of Microsoft, of course, being a commercial partner to these corporates, the opportunity there is corporates are increasingly asking partners like Microsoft how we could be partnered with them in their innovation journey, how we could support them into identifying new business models, into executing innovation, into rethinking or reimagining their business, right? So, and this is the real opportunity to build a connected ecosystem. On one hand, as the startups team within Microsoft, we can support our colleagues in the broader organization to be more trusted partners with the corporates we work with in their innovation journey by bringing them innovation in the form of startups. At the same time, working with startups, we can accelerate the sales and growth of startups by connecting them with opportunities within corporates. And of course, indirectly, as Microsoft having more players that build on our technology. Which of course is of course an end game for Microsoft as a company. So for us, the vision, the grand vision, is to build this connected ecosystem because we see a huge opportunity. Because we are exposed to many corporates, right? So it's understanding their pain points, their challenges, their use cases. Definitely enable us to be more intentional in sourcing, recruiting startups, and connecting the dots between startups and corporates in a meaningful way to accelerate the sales and growth of startups in this equation. That's why we came out with this project and this accelerator, which we called GrowthX, where the vision is enabling GrowthX as a platform to connect the dots across startups and corporates and to execute this vision. So without any further ado, I will introduce Laura Mansour. She's a program manager in my team, and she will guide you through the details of GrowthX, who are the corporate partners we have on board for our next cohort, the challenges, and how to apply for our accelerator program. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Roberto. So I'm Laura Mansour, the program manager for GrowthX, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about the design and the content of the accelerator. So let's get into it. The concept of GrowthX is to create an enabling environment for corporates and startups to collaborate and innovate. And to use Roberto's analogy, putting the dinosaurs and the unicorns in the same room. So what this means is that our corporate partners for cohort 2 of GrowthX have come to us with some specific challenges, which they are looking to find solutions for, from startups based in the Middle East, Turkey, and Pakistan. So for cohort 2, we'll be working with Lulu Hypermarket, EY, PwC, and Etisalat, and Koç Holding. Each of these companies has a specific challenge, or multiple challenges actually, that correlate directly to their business models. So I'm going to talk a bit about each challenge and then take you through a high-level overview of how the program itself is going to work. So let's start with Lulu Hypermarket. Lulu is looking for a solution to help their stores analyze consumer buying behavior in the least intrusive manner possible and at the lowest cost. Whereas EY, who we successfully partnered with during cohort 1, has a few other challenges related to clean tech and data regulations. They want to work with startups that can provide sustainable solutions for the energy crisis, and also those that work to protect data privacy in the MENA region specifically. PwC, our other partner, is focusing more on the fintech space, looking for startups that offer digital channels and alternative data sources for SMEs, and also frictionless banking services and value-added HR services. Moving on to logistics, we have the corporate giant, that's DHL, that wants to collaborate with startups that have advanced image processing technology to better scan packages for security reasons, and those that can provide solutions to analyze real-time data to enhance day-to-day operations. Our telecom partner, Etisalat, is looking for new and innovative ways to increase sales of its online SIM cards in Saudi Arabia. And last but not least, our partner in Turkey, Koç Holding, is looking for agri-tech companies to better gather agricultural survey data to make real-time actionable decisions on decisions related to irrigation, fertilization, and other plant protection activities. So let's get into how these corporates are actually going to engage with our startups. So the program itself is 12 weeks, and these corporates will be engaged to co-create with these startups in a multitude of ways. The corporates will provide their time and expertise to enhance the solutions of the chosen startups, as well as provide perks such as access to innovation labs and centers, opportunities to pitch in front of potential clients and boards. And at the end of the program, the startups will be invited to pitch in front of all the corporates during our graduation demo day. So let's deep dive into the program content and how we plan to structure the program over the 12 weeks. As important as it is for one-to-one time between the founders and the corporates, we've also developed a very bespoke program that is for the startups to participate in as well. So the program has been broken up into specific themes that correspond with what we're calling founder development, as well as the technical training required to build on Azure, and as well as work with Microsoft. So some of the knowledge sessions that our startups will learn about and participate in relate to everything from go-to-market strategies to B2B digital marketing, product, finance and operations, and even investor readiness, for example. And what's unique about this program is that we want to make it as relevant as possible, enabling founders to pick and choose between whatever topics are relevant for them. We know how busy startups are and only want founders to attend sessions that are really relevant to their business. And in parallel, one of the most important aspects of GrowthX is the tech enablement piece. All of the selected companies will be onboarded onto Azure if they aren't already, and will have access to free credits like the team mentioned previously, as well as receive technical support, whether it's for selling or building infrastructure from the Microsoft internal team, specifically from the amazing Sanya, who we heard from before. And something else that we're including in GrowthX, which I think is really important, especially because even though we're working, in the region, as our region is Middle East, Turkey, and Pakistan, sometimes we forget that we are often siloed. So what we're providing is access to the wider ecosystem, whether it's the wider ecosystem in our region or global. So our program is designed to empower these startups, and what we want to do is allow our founders to learn from other founders who've done this all before. So we'll be providing FaceTime with some of the biggest startups in the region that can guide our founders, as well as just tell their stories and be insightful in that way. And I think Noor touched upon this, but here at Microsoft, we have access to some of the best mentors in the region and globally that are also looking to support our startups with varying expertise. So to sum up, just from the program perspective, for us to build a successful program, we're looking for startups in our region, so that's Middle East, Turkey, and Pakistan, that can respond to the challenges that our corporates currently face. We implement this program in partnership with the Abu Dhabi Investment Office as well, so we're looking for startups that are willing to potentially scale to Abu Dhabi in the near future. So if you're a startup that operates in these areas, like we mentioned, and want to co-create with some of the biggest corporate partners in the region, please don't hesitate to apply to our GrowthX Accelerator program on the Microsoft website before February 22nd. We'll be shortlisting and be ready to kick off the program on March 22nd. So I'll let Asad and Roberto take it from here if there are any questions from anyone that's related here.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Roberto, for your insights on GrowthX. We've been getting a lot of engagement from the audience asking about the challenges, about how they can apply. So clearly there's a lot of interest in the program, which is always encouraging to see. So just to go through some of the questions, Roberto, I think there's a bit of an echo on, is there some echo or?
On my side?
A little bit, yeah, if we could.
Yeah, let me see what I can do.
I think it's a bit better now. Yeah. I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome. So one thing we've also seen internally when we've been talking about the applications that we've been getting, and I think it'd be good to educate the wider audience about it as well. What would we look for applications to make them stand out when applying? Like how can a startup that's applying for GrowthX mark itself for success to go to the next stage as part of the application process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say for GrowthX specifically, first we look at the relevance, right, with the challenge that the specific challenge that the startup is applying to. So we have 6 great corporates, as Laura summarized, that are on board for this cohort. We have been spending time with them ahead of launching the applications to define the challenges, understand what was top of mind for them. So we carefully selected the challenges with the corporates. So the first thing is definitely the relevance with or the potential to solve for the challenges that we're putting forward within GrowthX. So this is one thing. Then the other thing is definitely the willingness, right? So to work together in terms of a partnership, right? So we see it as a long term. So the program is 12 weeks long, but for us is nothing ends within the 12 weeks, in the sense that and especially from this next cohort, we will gamify the experience. So there will be some new things that we will be adding in the experience once the startups join the program. But we know that, for example, we cannot force a paid POC to happen within the 12 weeks. And that's not an issue. That's not a problem, right? So that can happen a few weeks after the program finishes. For us, is more a learning opportunity. So we are eager to onboard startups that are looking at this opportunity as a partnership opportunity and as a learning opportunity. Because at the end of the day, we're enabling corporates and startups to learn how to work together, working on some great challenges that are worth solving for, with us in the loop as a partner to enable this co-creation and partnership, both from a technical perspective, but also from an ecosystem and go-to-market perspective, right? So it's a great learning opportunity for the startups that will join the program, but also for the corporate. So we look for startups that come with that attitude, that approach, that of course have great solution or potential to bring to the table to solve for those challenges. And we definitely look for a fit for the challenges that we have been putting forward with our corporate partners.
Definitely. And as you've both mentioned, it's all about matchmaking the right prospects from the startups with the right partners to enable them both to work effectively and mutually in an environment that's beneficial to both of them. Okay. Another one that's come up in the comments, Laura, you touched upon this earlier about how we're trying to engage the wider ecosystem. So a couple of people are asking what countries would be able to specifically apply. Could you maybe send a few names their way so they'd be aware that they're able to apply for the program?
Yeah, so we're focusing mostly on those that operate in the Middle East. So that's anywhere in the GCC, and also Turkey and Pakistan. That's our region. So yeah, if you're in this region, the UAE, anywhere in the GCC really. And what I mean by engaging in the wider ecosystem is that I think what we want to do with this specific cohort is, again, not be siloed from other startups or other success stories in the world. So what we want to do is engage some of the biggest startups or some of the most successful founders in the world, not just in the region or not just here in the UAE, to make sure that we're, creating some sort of like knowledge exchange. And actually, we want to engage our alumni too for Microsoft for Startups. So it's a good opportunity to knowledge exchange on all levels.
Awesome. And an interesting one that comes to mind, given this era of everything being remote and the virtual stuff, someone has asked, is the program remote or is it virtual? Or will they actually be traveling to the UAE to do the 12-week program?
Yeah, the program is remote. Actually, we kicked off cohort 1 a few months back, right? So due to COVID limitation restrictions and the fact that we cover the broader region, we planned everything to be virtual due to the nature of a multi-country and wide region, right? So what will happen physically starting from this cohort is we will try to have our graduation event, so the final ceremony, if you want, the final event in Abu Dhabi, and we will try, of course, to get the selected startups as much as possible due to COVID and travel restriction as well, of course, participating physically in that event with an investor demo day and corporate demo day in Abu Dhabi. But the whole program is meant to be virtual because we want to maximize our impact across the wider region and give equal access opportunities to startups and founders that maybe have less access because not physically present in one of the main hubs right across the region, but still they have maybe great ideas, potential solutions that we can, of course, bring on board into the program.
Definitely, and it ties in with what we mentioned earlier about enabling the whole ecosystem, not just particular hubs, so that also connects very nicely. Another very good question that's come up from the audience, someone has asked, for a bootstrap startup that is not attached to any accelerator currently, would they still be eligible to apply for the programs?
I can take it, and Laura, if you want to comment as well. Look, we have not been mandating very strict requirements on either funding and or revenue generation, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure we are able to scout and to recruit startups and solutions that are the best fit for a specific challenge. That means even a bootstrapped startup might be the best fit for a given challenge. We just need to do a sort of our assessment and due diligence on that. But why not? So we don't, especially in a region like ours where the dynamics, the maturity, and being still a sort of a nascent ecosystem, we didn't want to put too many rigid barriers or criteria in order to select the potential startups. So yeah, potentially yes. As we said before, when Asad, you asked the first question about what makes the best startups to fit into this program, is definitely a fit with the challenge, the potential we see in the founding team and in the solution, and the openness, the attitude to work in a partnership and in a learning mood with us.
Awesome. And I think we have time for perhaps one more question. In terms of startups that are linked to academia, because we've been seeing the rise in entrepreneurship from the academia space, a lot of students from universities wanting to kickstart their ventures. For those that are forming out of university campuses, would they also be able to join the hub? Or do we have something in terms of the way of age or where they're coming from that perspective? Because we've not really highlighted the academia background.
That's a wonderful question. So I love it because youth is one of those areas where we believe we can do more, especially in this region, in order to change mindset and empower more of the youth across our region to tap into entrepreneurship. So to the specific questions, I would say, in principle, I would say Founders Hub is more of the destination for those kind of startups today. Because for the challenges we have put together with the corporates, what is true is that we probably are looking for a little bit more mature startups or startups that already have an MVP and already have demonstrated a sort of a strong capability, right, to develop their product, but also the potential to work with a corporate, right, which comes with a set of challenges, which is exactly what we want to address with the startups that will join the program. So I would say Founders Hub is probably the foundational and entry point for those startups, given that as I said before, this is an area where we really want to invest. Probably we might have some great announcements later in the year about plans we have to tap more consistently into entrepreneurship and enable more of the youth across the region with skilling and an opportunity to develop their ideas into products. So it's something we want to enable more. So stay tuned for that. But I would say Founders Hub could be the best starting point for academia and young entrepreneurs that are at university or still at a very early stage.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Roberto and Laura, for your time and the insights you guys have shared with the audience. There's been a lot of engagement about GrowthX. I'm sure we're going to see that translate into an uptick in applications. Hopefully we can get some really good ones out of there and help these people get matched to the corporates whose challenges they're aiming to solve. So it's been great to have you guys talk about this today.
Thank you.